Yes, we are back aboard on college basketball coast to coast, live again on another Saturday night, this time in February. I am the somewhat competent host, TJ Rives, based in the Tampa St. Pete Clearwater area. Hello, Jason Powers, my wingman, right here in the Tampa Bay area. What a Saturday of college basketball already. And like the late Jack Palance from City Slickers, the famous comedy, the cowboy comedy, day ain't over yet. We still got some more to go on this Saturday night. Great to be with you. Carolina 3 at the buzzer to beat Duke. Do we need anything other than that? How about Michigan State rallying with a last-second three themselves? Illinois making the key free throws with a second left. The game goes to overtime. Michigan State wins anyway. We got bonkers college basketball all over the place. How are you for another Saturday?
Doing well, doing well. Again, the rivalry never fails to live up to the hype. Carolina
Oh,
Duke. I mean, I know I didn't see every minute of the game, but I was back and forth in and out of the game. Carolina made the biggest comeback in 25 years in there to win the game for them. Three huge threes late to win the game. You mentioned again wild finishes we had last night. Great game in the Garden with UConn, St. John's. We have another great game about to tip off potentially BYU Houston out in Provo. And by the way, what is ESPN doing putting that game on at 10:30 at night? Come on.
they just won all games at all hours of the
Come
day
on.
and night. We also have our eyes on Rupp Arena for, oh, by the way, Kentucky and Tennessee, which is a 1 point game with 2.5 to play. Man, there's so much to go over. All right, let me set the table a little bit for you here. Obviously, Duke, Carolina, we're going to prominently talk about. You see on the screen, if you did not stay with it, Duke had a large lead, but North Carolina came back and beat them at the buzzer. 2 court storms, by the way, at the Dean Dome. First mention, where is the security, by the way? Where's the administration of security and protecting the Duke players, not just once, but twice, from the idiocy of everybody running on the floor with no security guards, nobody trying to hold the crowd back, get the Duke guys off. Just stupid to have it happen the second time, especially. Anyway, and I didn't go to Duke, and I don't care who wins. It was a great finish. Carolina wins that game. We're going to talk a lot about it. Obviously, Arizona remains unbeaten as the top team. They destroyed Oklahoma State today. We're going to talk a lot about that. Adam Zagoria will be here with us. First time we've had him on our Saturday night college basketball coast to coast live shows. We're going to be here all the way through March, all the way through the Final Four, talking the college hoops. And Adam will be here. He was in the Garden for the St. John's win over
Mecca.
UConn.
Mecca.
Wow. He'll talk to us about that and much more. And then later on in the program, Matt Zimick is back, our Western Bureau Chief. You and I kind of have the eastern half of the country, Central and Eastern time zone lockdown. We give Matt the rest to talk Mountain time zone, Pacific time zone, etc. But Matt's going to want to weigh in on Carolina Duke, on Illinois and Michigan State. What a finish, and all the other craziness in college basketball. Jason, back to you for the thoughts. Seth Trimble is a hero forever now at North Carolina, making that shot to win the game tonight. It's not everything for North Carolina season, but it's huge.
No doubt. And again, this is a big win for Hubert Davis to get, not that there's any immediate pressure. They're having a good year, but just to reemphasize, hey, I'm the guy for this job. I can beat Duke. Coming back to do it, that's a big thing. Winning in the Dean Dome is another big thing for that fan base. So great job. Again, way to hang in there by Carolina. I was in and out of the game. Every time I saw it, Duke was up 9, 10, 11, throughout the game. So you texted me early. What was it, 20-9 at some early in the game?
It was 18-5 at the beginning, and then 20-9. It was 15 early in the second half, and roaring back comes North Carolina. So I'm going to pose this to Adam in a couple of moments when we play the interview that we did just a little while ago before the show began live. Was it a bigger collapse by Duke, or do you credit Carolina more for the comeback down 8 with about 4 minutes left? They come all the way back to win.
I'm going to say bigger comeback. I don't think Duke turned the ball over a bunch there down the stretch, probably just some missed shots. But Carolina made shots. They made 3 threes in the last, 2:15 of the game. They went on a 9-0 run to win the game at the end. So I would say way more credit to for Carolina than Duke missing free throws, throwing the ball away, all that stuff. that's just a rivalry kind of situation that happens in that series all the time. Where I think in that series more than most teams win the game as opposed to the other teams collapsing.
It is the first last-second buzzer beater to win it since Austin Rivers, the son of Doc Rivers, won it for Duke over a decade ago in Chapel Hill. It is also North Carolina's first three-pointer at the buzzer to win in any game like this. In any game, they have not won with a three at the buzzer. It counts with 0.4 of a second, under a second left. Since the Luke May three-pointer beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four back, I believe, in 2017, and they won the national title that year, North Carolina. That is the last time that North Carolina has won any game, regular season or in March, the postseason, with a three at the buzzer in the final buzzer or final second, like what Seth Trimble did tonight. So we've talked a bunch about that.
The same Luke May, whose brother will be starting some important game tomorrow.
Yes, that's him. That's Drake May's older brother. So Luke May's a hero forever for beating Kentucky, and Seth Trimble's never going to have to buy an adult beverage in the state of North Carolina, in particular in the Chapel Hill area, for the rest of his life.
What's the famous street? What's the famous kind of night?
Tobacco Road is the road,
and Chapel Hill. There's a street in Chapel
Hill. I don't know what that street is. I've been there in that area, but it's amazing the hatred in that rivalry, and North Carolina got the better of them tonight. That is for sure. Love all of this with the college basketball. We watch everything that is unfolding here at the moment, including Kentucky has taken the lead live as we do this on Tennessee, 68-67. It was a double-digit comeback in Knoxville a couple of Saturdays ago. Now they've done the same thing. Tennessee, though, a driving layup by the freshman Nate Ament. We've talked so many times about this freshman class. Ament tonight has 29, tying his career high. He just got the driving layup while we do this live for a 69-68 lead in the final minute for Tennessee on the road at Kentucky. A Tennessee team that has already had a couple of bounce-back wins since the Kentucky loss, looking for another one here tonight. They beat Alabama at Alabama, by the way, in that, or they beat Alabama, I think, at home. It all melts together.
2 Saturdays ago with Bediako.
Yes. So they did get the win at Alabama, right? I believe that's a road win. And this would be a road win at Lexington. Amen again came off a high screen, went around two guys for the layup. It's not over. It's a 1-point lead. How bonkers has this Saturday been? With the Big Ten game with Michigan State over Illinois, the North Carolina Duke game. Amazing.
I'll give you a good stat with Ament. In the second half of the last game they played against Ole Miss and the first half of tonight's game, he scored 45 points. 26 against Ole Miss, 19 in the first half against Kentucky in two halves of basketball. I don't know what he has in the second half tonight, but he had 19 at the half tonight in Lexington.
They're in a timeout. We'll keep an eye on that game. Also in our state, we pay attention also to the Florida Gators, who appear to be the best team in the SEC. And did they ever smoke Texas A&M at Texas A&M tonight? Are you aware of the horrific start for the Aggies at home tonight? Got any clue? They began the game
at the half, right? 19 at the half.
They began the game 1 of 24 from the floor. 1 for 24 in their building in College Station, and they were fortunate that Florida wasn't up more at the stage that it was 1 for 24. The game was only like 13-3. Wow. And eventually it became like a 15, 18-point game late in the first half, and Florida never looked back. This is a Gator team with a win at Vanderbilt. This is a Gator team that demolished Tennessee at home. They demolished Alabama at home. Florida looking like the real deal at the moment while we sit here and discuss all of these different games and these different teams. Would you not agree?
Oh, they are rounding into championship form as we get into February here. Again, tremendous job by Golden to go on the road and to hold. And again, who knows how much of it's bad shooting versus good defense? But say what you want, they hold that team on the road to 67 points, 19 in the first half. So kudos to that defense for Todd Golden. We know they've got plenty of size. If they get good guard play, look out.
All right, we got Florida and Kentucky. You ready for this? Oweh drives the lane, kicks out, and they hit the three-pointer with about 25 seconds left off the right wing.
Yep.
What a big shot for Kentucky, and it was Caldwell that hit the right wing three. So Kentucky now up 2 in the final half minute, with Tennessee about to get the ball on this Saturday night here on college basketball coast to coast.
How about Oklahoma?
Everything unfolds.
How about Oklahoma almost blowing like a 22-point lead with like 8 minutes to go at Vandy?
How about Oklahoma with a 9-game losing streak playing a top 25 in the power rankings Vanderbilt team in Nashville and pummeling them for most of the game, and then almost gave it away, only ended up hanging on to win by 1. Still, if you're Porter Moser, you take a win any way you can get it, and they got it in Nashville.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Vanderbilt 3-4 now after the 16-0 start, so struggling a little bit. But again, good for Porter Moser. I mean, he's probably losing his job. We talked to Tyler last week. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion, but a nice win by Moser in that program to at least show a little bit of life there in the SEC.
Again, we're going to keep it right here. We're going to go to the interview with Adam Zagoria in a couple of moments here to break down what he saw with Carolina's comeback win over Duke. Also, St. John's winning in the Big East in the Garden and snapping UConn's 18-game win streak Friday night. So that interview coming up. Tennessee has inbounded. There's a 2-second difference on the game clock and the shot clock with about 20 seconds left. They're down 2. They have missed the jumper, and Kentucky has the rebound with the shot clock off. And they have fouled Kentucky with about 14 seconds left. I didn't see if it was Gillespie or who took the shot for Tennessee, but it was a right wing shot off balance about 15 feet away off the front iron. And is Kentucky about to survive again after being down double digits? Was it Ament? It was. It was Nate Ament, the freshman, who has the career high 29, career high tying 29. He missed the jumper. Still a lot of time left. Tennessee has a timeout left. Kentucky at the line. And Jason, I'm double checking. They are shooting 1-1 here.
Right.
With Marino, the hero that hit the game-winning three-pointer against LSU. He's shooting 1-1 with 14 seconds left. We'll keep an eye on what happens at Rupp Arena. Up 2. He makes the first free throw. So that helps Kentucky now. At worst, Tennessee is attempting a 3 for the tie. Kentucky probably grabs them before they attempt to do that.
Under 5 seconds, you probably foul if you're up 3.
So Marino can make it a 4-point game after he grabbed the rebound and got fouled, and he missed. And Tennessee has the ball down 3. 10 seconds left as Rick Barnes want timeout. As Kentucky want a foul, Rick Barnes takes the timeout with 8 seconds left. So 1 of 2 at the foul line. Tennessee and Kentucky drama right now going on. We're updating this. We're live on college basketball coast to coast, and we're watching all of this unfold. And we do have Tennessee Kentucky drama at Rupp Arena right now in the final 8 seconds.
Will this not be like Kentucky's 4th or 5th double-digit 14 or 15-point plus comeback in conference? Because I know LSU at Tennessee.
Correct.
This will be the 3rd, and I think there was one more that they came back from double digits in conference to win.
That was the Arkansas game last Saturday night.
Yes.
So they have been a double-digit team, and 2 of them have been on the road at Tennessee
3.
and at Arkansas.
And LSU.
And the LSU game. To reset the situation, Kentucky and Tennessee. Kentucky leads by 3. Tennessee has 8 seconds left. They're now out of timeout, so they're going to be inbounding coming up. And you got to believe you're grabbing the three-point shooter.
Under 5 seconds.
And you may have to grab right away because they're going to look to quickly fire the 3 knowing that so that there's still time left on the clock, especially if you're trying to grab them.
Get an offensive rebound or to get a rebound on the miss if you'd miss.
You and I love doing this with the drama, so everybody hang in there. We often plan this show. You and I have been mapping this out, and we had to wait for the end of the Illinois-Michigan State game, again won by Michigan State in the final seconds of overtime. Now we're waiting for the end of Tennessee and Kentucky before we put on our guest, Adam Zagoria, to talk the Duke-Carolina game and the St. John's win over UConn. We interviewed Adam a little earlier in the evening. Again, on the reset, Tennessee will inbound with 8.5 seconds left, down by 3 at Rupp Arena at Kentucky, trying to get revenge. And Kentucky commits a foul on the inbound, trying to strip the ball. Yep. And that's going to mean 2 free throws for Tennessee with barely any time coming off the clock, Jason, at this stage.
Which means Tennessee, Kentucky, even if they make both free throws, they're going to have to go down to the line and make 2 more at least, or 1 more to kind of put this game away. And you and I, we did a little watch-along game the other night in the Mountain West. We had another buzzer beater that went to overtime between Nevada and
Boise State.
Boise State. So we've seen plenty of late under 5-second drama here this week.
Oh, it's been a crazy week, and you're right that Nevada tied the game after 2 missed free throws by Boise State, left them only down by 2 without a timeout. They hit the game-tying shot, and a great overtime that Boise State hung on to win, 91-87, as those are 2 mid-pack teams in the Mountain West. All right, Tennessee has made the first free throw down 2. They make both free throws now to tie the game. And that means there's 8 seconds, or to get down by 1, there's 8 seconds left. There's bodies all over the free throw lane because 5 guys fell on each other trying to get the rebound in case he missed. So this is the situation. Kentucky up 1 with 8 seconds left. Tennessee out of timeouts. Kentucky has a timeout left. As we watch this along, we can't show it to you, but we can give you the next best thing description after the fact of whatever happens. Tennessee at Rupp Arena. Kentucky won the first meeting. Kentucky trying to be 8-3 in the conference. Tennessee trying to avenge the loss. And the Wildcats will inbound the ball 94 feet away, up by 1, and Tennessee's got to try to steal or get a foul. They get it in, and Chandler is fouled immediately. A lot of basketball left. Chandler hit the 3 earlier for the 3-point lead. He'll now go to the line to shoot 1-1, I believe, Jason, with 7 seconds left in this game at Rupp Arena. He can again put them back up by 3 with the Vols without a timeout. Just a bonkers Saturday night. We've already had a last-second finish in Chapel Hill, won by North Carolina. We've had drama in East Lansing where Illinois made 2 free throws, Jason, with a second left to force overtime, and Michigan State still won the game with a late bucket in overtime.
No timeouts for Tennessee, and it is 1-1.
That is right. And so Chandler will shoot the 1-1 for Kentucky, up 72-71 with 7 seconds left. That's plenty of time, and he missed the front end, but Kentucky got the rebound. The clock runs, and now a foul with 3.5 left. A long rebound was grabbed by Kentucky and Diabate. He grabbed it a good 15 feet away on the long rebound on the baseline and got the ball out front. I didn't see who got fouled. It wasn't Owe that got fouled.
It was a guard. Goofy bounce off the rim off the miss. Kind of went dead right off the rim.
Kentucky gets the best case scenario here because it took 3 seconds off the clock, and they're right back at the line. And are they shooting 2, or is it still 1-1?
Double bonus.
It is shooting 2 here on Tennessee, up by 1. While we do this live on college basketball coast to coast, it's Aberdeen at the free throw line shooting 2, and he has the first one.
The Florida transfer.
So Denzel Aberdeen can make it a 3-point game with under 4 seconds left, and then Tennessee's got to go 94 feet, and Kentucky's got to be grabbing them before they shoot the game-tying 3.
ESPN just showed a clip of Mark Pope talking to him about fouling. You saw the gesture of grabbing him, make sure he's not going up in his motion here.
Aberdeen to the foul line for a 3-point lead for Kentucky has made the free throw, and now will they grab Tennessee on the long inbound with the Vols down 3 without a timeout? Tennessee will fire it in. They have it at midcourt. The midcourt heave for the tie.
Oh
rims
my
out
God.
off the backboard. Holy cow. What a finish.
Backboard and front rim.
That would have counted. It came
Yes.
off the board, off the front rim, and hung there for half a
Woo.
second, but it's no good. And Kentucky has completed the sweep of Tennessee with a 74-71 win. Wasn't Mark Pope supposedly in some trouble at 0-2 in
Wow.
conference play? Kentucky had not lost the opening game in the SEC at home in Rupp Arena in 30 years. Everybody questioning him. That's 8-1 in the last 9 games if you need him. And the Wildcats. Give his
Hello.
guys credit. They got it done tonight.
Hello. Yep. Only loss. I think they lost at Vandy maybe a week back, midweek. Lost at Vandy. But yeah, Pope. These are the cardiac cats, man. That's all they do is get behind by 10 to 12.
And you called it. That's 5 double-digit comeback wins this season, the most in Division One. You don't want to keep making a habit of that as you get to March.
Right.
But they just did it again. And Denzel Aberdeen seals the game with the 2 free throws. Tennessee had the one last chance left. I'm double-checking on who shot that ball from midcourt in the play-by-play when we go back and look. They got the ball in at midcourt, and then the player got a return pass at the end. I'm trying, and again, my technology just absolutely wants to dump and doesn't want to cooperate.
Shot was right on line. It was a little strong off the glass.
Shot that at the end. The other thing that ESPN, while I'm bemoaning things, the other thing that ESPN has done in the recap mode is they've begun on their live play-by-play instead of keeping it simple to recap all 873 things that happen in a half, including substitutions, including timeouts. So you can't ever recap anything quickly because the entire time that I've been babbling here, I'm trying to scroll to the bottom of ESPN.com's idiotic new play-by-play recap that recaps how much time came off the clock, recaps what color a coach's tie is. Just tell us the important plays at the important times, please. The 3 at the end of the game, and the best point is it doesn't even tell me who took the shot from Tennessee. ESPN loser epic fail on your play-by-play on ESPN.com. It used to be better. You updated it. It's terrible now on ESPN.com. Go back to what you had. Thank you. I'll find another browser. In any event, let's segue. We got guests coming up. Wild win for North Carolina began all of this. We're going to talk more about that and the Big East with a special guest that's going to join us right now. Let's go to the conversation with Adam Zagoria of NJ.com and the Zags blog in the recap mode Saturday night here on college basketball coast to coast. As promised, he is here. We love our insider here on college basketball coast to coast. You read him on NJ.com, also the Zags blog. First time on the Saturday night recap show that I get to say hello to Adam Zagoria. It must be that time. Good to be with you, my friend.
Good to be with you, my friend. I'm sorry I missed you earlier in the season, but what a day in college. What a weekend.
All right. We got to go right there. Is it, we've been asking this question, great one to pose it to, is it more the North Carolina comeback? Is it more the Duke collapse? Up 13 early, up 8 late? You got to give Carolina the credit, but how much of it is them coming back? How much of it is Duke giving it up?
I mean, anytime you have a big lead and blow it, they got outscored, Duke got outscored 42-27 in the second half. Some of the responsibility belongs with the team that blew it. I do think it was just a remarkable gutsy comeback by Carolina, capped by just a storybook corner 3-pointer there from Seth Trimble. That's the kind of shot that, you're in your driveway with your buddies, like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to shoot this to win the game. And he makes it. And, they're just going nuts in Chapel Hill right now. So good for them.
And that's a memory for all time. They'll show that shot 10 years from now, 25 years from now. Incredible moment for Trimble, as we've been documenting, to hit that open look there at the end. You got to really credit Hubert Davis's team. They've rallied together. They lost both of the games all the way out in the San Francisco Bay Area to Cal and Stanford, and some were ready to run him out of Chapel Hill off those losses. Now they haven't lost since, including a win at Virginia, and then this comeback tonight. I'm not saying it's everything, but this is as big a win as they've had in 2 or 3 years for the circumstances. You would agree?
Yeah, I think you got to give Henry Vassir, however we're pronouncing it, a lot of credit. I believe he had no points at the half, and he scored all 13 of his points and 9 of his 11 rebounds in the second half. Caleb Wilson, kind of what you'd expect from a projected top 5 NBA pick, 23 points, and then just a monster shot there from Seth Trimble, who finishes with 16. But yeah, obviously Hubert, has been on the hot seat for a long time there. This should garner him some goodwill for a while, but obviously at Carolina, they expect, Final Fours and national championships. So we'll see how they do. It's kind of like, I know we're going to get to St. John's UConn in a little bit, but this is the number 3 team UConn and the number 4 team Duke, both losing on the same weekend to, big time rivals on the big time rivals home court. And I think just as it did with St. John's and UConn, it probably helps Carolina more than it hurts Duke in terms of the
Right.
NCAA tournament. Duke is still going to be in the mix for a number 1 seed. This probably bumps Carolina up a line or so.
It absolutely bolsters their case. Again, one more point on this, and that is that to your point, the last 5 national champions have lost at least a game in February, and 4 of them lost at least twice in February or early March before the end of the season. So it's not the worst thing in the world in a tough conference. It's not an indication of anything that you lost a game or 2 for Duke or for UConn last night, especially if you're playing in a conference like the Big Ten, like the Big East. I'll throw that in. We'll even throw in the Big 12, maybe more so than the ACC. You're going to probably lose a game. You may even lose a couple of games, and it doesn't write you off, right?
Yeah, and it's, it shows that these rivalries, UConn, St. John's, Carolina, Duke, are still, vibrant and at the top of the sport. And, chalk doesn't always dominate. The higher seed, higher ranked team doesn't always win. Obviously, both teams are playing on their home court. But, it's good for college basketball. It'll garner headlines. It'll garner some highlights heading into the Super Bowl. So, just a great weekend for both games.
Just like this guy, he garners headlines everywhere he goes. He's Adam Zagoria. Again, NJ.com, the Zags blog. He's with us on College Basketball Coast to Coast for a few more moments. All right, we waited long enough. You were there in the Garden for St. John's, UConn. You've been there numerous times for massive games. It's not a Big East tournament championship game, but as regular season games go, that had to be something to be part of on Friday night, yes?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's Madison Square Garden. It's Dan Hurley and Rick Pitino, UConn and St. John's. Everyone was kind of wondering what the crowd breakdown was going to be. Rick said afterwards he thought it was 90-10 St. John's. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. It was probably more like 60-40 or maybe 70-30. The whole lower bowl of the Garden was all red. St. John's. The upper bowl, where obviously UConn doesn't control the tickets, was the UConn fans. I heard at least one F Dan Hurley shout during the national anthem. Connecticut had come in winning 18 in a row. St. John's had won 8 in a row. It was the only game on the college slate Friday night. It was on Fox. So there was a lot of hype. And, the key with St. John's is they've got a front court trio there of Zuby Ejiofor, Dylan Mitchell, and Bryce Hopkins, who combined for 50 points and I don't know, it's like 19 rebounds or something. And they just, they dominated. Danny called them grown-ass men afterwards. And then, these two teams will play again February 25th in Hartford, and then if we're lucky, we'll get them in the Big East Championship game on March 14th.
Yeah, from your lips, I know to the organizers' eyes if they can get that kind of matchup. And again, UConn, we got to give them tons of credit for the run that they have been on and the wins that they have had. Same kind of thing with Duke. Not the worst thing, not the end of the world that you lost a game you don't want to lose on purpose, but I really thought this was a case of St. John's taking it from them. It
Sure.
wasn't that UConn fumbled it away. You were there again. Fair that it's more about the Johnnies and what they did.
Yeah, UConn was, sort of strangely turned the ball over a bunch. St. John's won the points off turnovers battle. They got some huge plays late in the game from Dylan Darling, transfer point guard. The issue with St. John's all year is they don't really have a pure point guard. Dylan Darling came in off the bench, hit a big three late, fed Ejiofor in the paint for a basket. He had some big plays. And Dylan Mitchell's, really playing kind of a point forward role for St. John's. He had a great game. And Zuby was the best player on the court, more than 20 points, double-double, 7 assists. He really outplayed Taris Reed, the UConn center. And, it's one game, but for me, it's going to hype up the rivalry and the intensity of the next time they play in a couple weeks. And then I don't see anybody else in the Big East beating either one of these teams before the final. Maybe Villanova. The Big East looks like a 3-bid league. Kevin Willard's doing a great job at Villanova. They beat Georgetown.
Yes.
But it's looking like a 3-bid league. And it just happens that it's a year where Marquette is down, Creighton is down, the rest of the league is kind of down, but UConn is certainly a Final Four potential team, and St. John's on any given night can beat anybody.
And I was just going right there. You maybe would have had Seton Hall, but they have lost on this Saturday to Creighton at Creighton in a narrow loss. So they have faltered. They're going to probably have to win the Big East tournament.
They had a 10-point lead there in the final minutes at Creighton. A win there would have kind of kept them in the NCAA tournament bubble picture. They lose on a 3-pointer by Nick Graves at the end. Just some really tough losses for Shaheen Holloway's team. They had a 15-point lead on St. John's, whatever that was, a week or two ago at the Garden, led by 15, completely controlled the game, and ended up losing. So just some brutal losses for Seton Hall.
I got you. And then we get St. John's and Xavier again coming on Monday night. We saw the big comeback, speaking of comebacks, by St. John's for Rick Pitino's win over his son. That's now back to being the on-court 900th win.
Yes.
And now they get the rematch with Xavier on Monday night, and we'll see if the Johnny stock will rise.
Just a little quick historical perspective. Rick got his 900th win a couple weeks ago against Richard Pitino and Xavier. Now on Monday, he's going to go for on-court win number 904, which would pass Roy Williams, put him behind Coach K and Jim Boeheim for third all-time in Division I wins. I've had a bunch of people hit me on Twitter about Bob Huggins and Jim Calhoun, but some of their wins were not at the Division I level. And let's, just bring it up 10,000 feet. Rick Pitino, let's remember, coached a couple years in Greece. He coached the Knicks. He coached the Celtics. He's had multiple stints where he was not coaching college basketball. If he had stayed the whole time, he'd have more than 1,000 wins, and he'd be either past Coach K or pretty close right now.
And it's pretty remarkable, again, all of the different programs that he has put into the Final Four, won a national title, obviously, with Kentucky.
6 teams, 6 different schools to the NCAA tournament, 3 to the Final Four.
Yeah, so and that does not include St. John's. There's a lot of belief that he at some point, maybe not this year, can get St. John's there. Who knows? It will not be easy. Stay tuned on that. That game will come Monday night with Xavier for St. John's. I always love your insight here on this Saturday. Read him again at nj.com for the insight on the Big East and all others. The Zags blog, especially if you're into the recruiting, this man is on it like no other on the Zags blog online. thank you for the insight on a Saturday night. We are 5 weeks from Selection Sunday. Perfect time to get you into the mix on college basketball coast to coast. Adam Zagoria, thank you.
Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.
Love his insight. Again, Adam with us just a little earlier in the evening. Jason Powers, I call you back in. Thank you for finding us live. Tons to go over tonight. He covered the Big East and the St. John's win, also touched on North Carolina as well. We are welcoming some new audience in here. Just give me overall thought or two on this weekend. We haven't even really talked about how good Arizona looks.
Yep, we're getting there.
Are they a cut above the rest? That's a great question here for tonight. Do you put Michigan right there with them? Duke took the loss tonight.
Yep.
Carolina took the loss. UConn took the loss on Friday night. Right. As I said to Adam, though, don't just write somebody off because they lost a game in February, right?
Please. No. It's a high intensity rivalry game with Duke and UConn losing. They played good teams, not like they lost to Boston College or, they didn't lose to a nobody team. These are good teams they're losing to. No, by no means. By the way, the longest winning streak in the history of Arizona basketball, by the way, 23 in a row here to start off the year. They are trying to change the narrative that they're not just a finesse. This looks like a championship, complete physical inside-outside team in Tucson.
They've got about 6 or 7 guys, and Matt Zimick will talk more with us, our Western insider and bureau chief. He will talk more about Arizona's depth, but they've got 6 or 7 guys that can beat you. Yep. Probably at least 4, if not 6 or 7. And the biggest thing is they're not a great three-point shooting team. Right. They're pretty good. They have some games when they're average to bad shooting threes, and it ain't mattered with Arizona to this point. We're not crowning them yet. Michigan has been phenomenal in the Big Ten. Duke, I believe, will be there at the end. UConn will be there at the end. Houston probably there at the end. Kansas probably there at the end. Florida probably there at the end. A lot of variables. But for right now, Arizona appears to look the part. Speaking of Kansas, another win for them today over Utah. They won earlier in the week at Texas Tech. They already have a couple of other big wins recently in Big 12 play, and beating BYU.
Who comes to Rock Chalk Monday night?
Arizona. And Darren Peterson, once again, an amazing performance today. He looks more and more the freshman like the presumptive number 1 pick. Maybe it's AJ DeBonsa of BYU. But Kansas is going to be a team to reckon with. No doubt. As we go along.
Adam Zagoria mentioned Dylan Mitchell. I like how St. John's used him, kind of a point forward. Guess where Dylan Mitchell's from, TJ Rives?
Right here in our Tampa Bay area, correct?
He's a Tampa kid. He went to Texas. I think he's been to a couple schools here, but seems like he's kind of found his home there at St. John's. Kind of a lefty, lanky, kind of slashing, kind of a Lamar Odom kind of guy. So kind of reminds me of a Lamar Odom with the left hand. Not quite as tall, but ball handler, can distribute, can score a little bit. So, Dylan Mitchell, keep an eye on Tampa kid. I did a couple of his games in high school back at Bishop McLaughlin, which is right down the road from you. Good pickup by Rick Pitino. And if St. John's can get some outside shooting, which they did last night a little bit, to supplement Ejiofor in the post, they're going to be a tough out.
Rick Pitino's team has won 8 straight. They snapped the 18-game win streak of UConn. Let's talk a little Big Ten again for the moment. Earlier this evening, about 45 minutes ago, it finished up in East Lansing, Michigan State. Yet another wild game. On top of the North Carolina last-second 3, Michigan State was down late in the game, roared back, got a big 3-pointer to go up by 2 late in the game from Jeremy Fears, their guard, and then the Illinois player was fouled on a rebound attempt with a second left and made the 2 free throws with 1 second left. This game goes to overtime in the zone, and Michigan State burst out, got about a 7-point lead in overtime, and then hung on to beat Illinois tonight. Now, nice bounce back for Michigan State. Jason, a thought or two?
Yes. First of all, I'm going to say this for our friend Mr. Izzo. Don't come out publicly and say, well, I'm really debating whether I'm going to bench Fears for his antics the other night, this and that. And, oh, by the way, he's learned his lesson. He's in the starting lineup.
Of course. We got to beat Illinois.
Either bench him or don't say nothing.
Yeah, he got a technical foul. He got a technical foul for taunting the bench and the Minnesota fans. And again, a bad loss for Michigan State in that game at Minnesota. That came on the heels of them losing to Michigan also at home. But we repeat, a big win for them in that. We say this all the time. There's nothing that tops this sport and the drama and these atmospheres from East Lansing and that crazy atmosphere, the Dean Dome tonight for the Carolina last second three, Rupp Arena for the comeback against Tennessee, Fog Allen for the Kansas win earlier today, even the McHale Center in Tucson where they don't seemingly ever lose, Arizona. You can find place after place after place. Cameron Indoor Stadium. They are jumping tonight in Provo, Utah for BYU at the Marriott Center in Provo, Utah. You go on and on with all of these big time venues in college basketball. We kind of in our region in Gainesville, the O'Connell Center, where the Gators have won 3 national championships this century. That place rocks. Just
the jungle at Auburn. The jungle
at Auburn. That place rocks as well. Take your pick on venues. Mackey Arena for Purdue in the Big Ten. On and on for all of these cathedrals. This is just a blast. And don't tell me that didn't help bolster Michigan State tonight to have that at home and have the home crowd and find a way to get it done.
Lots of people think Illinois is a championship Final Four kind of team as well with what do they have, the United Nations kind of roster there.
All the Eastern Europeans.
They're playing in the Olympics. We're transporting them
Stojakovic, Isevic, the different players that they have. It has been wild. Is
he the son of Peja?
That's Peja Stojakovic's son. That's correct.
There you go.
And then the freshman, we were going over that name, Keaton Wagler. Wagler had another good game tonight, but it just wasn't quite enough for that. College basketball coast to coast does roll on. Shall we go west? Let's go west and get some insight from Matt Zemek. We love his perspective from Trojans Wire, the USA Today, USC Trojans website, and he's also been great with us on college basketball coast to coast, and here he is on a Saturday night. Wild night. We'll get to the Western basketball, but just give me an overall thought or two on what we have witnessed from Chapel Hill, North Carolina to East Lansing, Michigan, like we were mentioning, to Lexington, Kentucky. Matt, welcome.
Here you go. Two basic facts that are whoppers. All right. Tennessee has led Kentucky by 13 or more twice this season. 0-2. North Carolina has trailed Virginia and Duke by 13 or more this season. 2-0. Right there.
They find a way.
That wraps several stories into one.
It does. All right, we've been asking this question. Bigger tonight, the Carolina comeback late, or was it a Duke collapse? Where do you come down?
Well, a little bit of both. Hubert Davis, I've been a critic, all right? His tenure's been so inconsistent, but whenever Carolina's in trouble, he seems to right the ship. He seems to get his guys to lock in when they absolutely have to. Down 16 at Virginia, down 13 in this game against Duke. Hubert did a great job down the stretch, no question about it. But we have to have a Duke conversation. We have to have a John Shire conversation. We start with the Final Four against Houston. That game should have been over. That game should have been in the deep freeze. It should have been Duke, Florida, the national title. But Duke with the epic collapse late there. And then the Texas Tech game earlier this season. That was a total breakdown. Final 7 minutes.
Weren't they up? 13, 15 points down the stretch of that game in the final 7 or 8 minutes. Yes.
So this keeps happening. When it happens to Porter Moser in Oklahoma, that's just every week. But Duke seems to lose by blowing games it has absolutely no business losing. So that's going to be a thing going into March. You know it will
Young
be.
play.
So Duke has a problem here.
And Duke relies a little more on high school kids than most. So they've got a younger team that, again, hasn't been in that environment. Chapel Hill, some of those moments. So veteran teams tend to do, as we progress here, start leaning on the teams with the most experience when the talent is pretty equal.
Last season, if Cooper Flagg, got locked down, there were role players who were more than able to handle it. And this Duke team, the problem is if Boozer's not doing it, who else does
Good
it?
point. Good point.
They all kind of stand around and watch, and they expect Cam Boozer to rescue them. That's not going to fly in March.
It did not rescue them. I got so many avenues to travel with you and not a ton of time. Seth Trimble's buzzer 3. I don't know if you've heard us waxing on the stats on college basketball coast to coast as we do this live on our platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter X. We're on Facebook. That is the first 3-point shot for a win in the final second or at the buzzer since the Luke May Elite Eight three-pointer against Kentucky, 2017 Elite Eight. I believe Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown, is where Luke May in the tournament made that three. So it's been almost 9 years since they had one of those. And Seth Trimble wins the game tonight. He's a hero forever, right, Matt?
Matt, largest comeback in Carolina Duke by Carolina in 25 years. Down 13. Haven't done that in 25 years in that rivalry.
That's absolutely crazy, right? Because there's been so many epic games over the years, and that this rises to the top of the list in that regard. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, I asked the question earlier. We got the Western Bureau Chief here with us, Matt Zimick. Arizona appears to be a cut above right now, at least to us at this stage. How much credit do you give them? They destroyed Oklahoma State today. We were wondering whether or not off the win by Oklahoma State over BYU, would they be much of a threat at the McHale Center? We have the answer. They were not. They were blown out today. Is Arizona a cut above right now?
Certainly a cut above the Big 12, and the Big 12 is pretty good. I will say that, Arizona is going to face some pretty significant tests, like Kansas is coming up on next week. So
Monday night, right.
Yeah. Next 4 games are rough.
Yeah. The schedule is going to get even tougher, but for Arizona to be unbeaten in the Big 12 and, it played a ambitious non-conference schedule. I mean, Arizona and Michigan, number 1 seeds. Like, there's virtually no question about it. And like, we're still 5 weeks from Selection Sunday, and they're just absolutely rock solid. It would take an act of God to move either Arizona or Michigan off the one line. And Michigan now, with that Illinois loss to Michigan State, looking pretty solid for the Big Ten title. So Arizona and Michigan, the 2 clear-cut number 1 seeds. Duke losing, UConn losing, the 3rd and 4th 1 seeds.
Yep.
Definite intrigue, but Arizona and Michigan absolutely rock solid on the one line.
Wildcats have that win at UConn. They also beat Alabama earlier in the year. That was home away from home, right, in Birmingham that they beat them.
Yep.
They have been tested so far. They'll get tested at Fog Allen coming up on Monday night. Not an easy trip around for the Wildcats to this
Zags
point.
Take a loss in midweek at Portland, kind of a huge upset there out west as well, right, Matt?
Yeah, and Gonzaga is like a 19-point favorite, something like that, and Portland's been bad, although Portland upset Seattle U today, interestingly enough. So it was a great week for Portland, but still, Portland had lost a number of games by 25 or more points to modest competition. So that was an absolute stunner. We're talking about the West Coast Conference. Santa Clara wins at Washington State. The Santa Clara Broncos are 12-1, everybody. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
People are sleeping on Herb Sendek, which, in the past has been a smart thing to do. But this year, Santa Clara is punching above its weight.
They beat Gonzaga last year. They beat Gonzaga last year.
Yep.
Didn't they beat Xavier badly this year?
Herb Sendek, true at NC State, true at Arizona State, true at Santa Clara. He'd lose several games he had no business losing. And this year, Santa Clara and Herb Sendek are not slipping on that banana peel. 12-1 in the league, so they have a chance to win the WCC championship. It's not often you can say that.
We love Matt Zimick's insight. I'm going to keep you for about 2 or 3 more minutes because we got another guest, Ari Russell, who wants to check in from New York City to talk about this great day of college basketball. We love Matt's insight. We have several subjects that we're trying to cover, obviously, with you while we have you here. The next one that I was interested in going to, I think I lost it. My bad. BYU. Hang on, Jason. Okay. BYU tonight is playing Houston. BYU having lost 3 of the last 4 games. They are losing late in the first half to Houston. Again, one of the presumptive either first or second round picks in the NBA draft is AJ DeBonsa. But are we staring at them losing 4 out of 5 games if they don't get Houston in the second half? And what, if anything, does that say to you with 4 or 5 weeks to go here?
Well, it's been a struggle for the role players around DeBonsa to play at the same level, and like DeBonsa is going to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, along with Peterson of Kansas. But, you need a whole team, right? And, the bigger picture with BYU and Xavier, the 2 schools with the most NCAA tournament appearances without a Final Four. And so the hope in Provo and throughout Mormon country going into this season was that this was going to be the BYU team that finally got to the Final Four. And it doesn't look like it's happening. Like BYU is probably looking at something in the area of a 4 to a 6 seed. That's just not a path that bodes well in the bracket in March. So very disappointing.
They spent a ton of money on DeBonsa for the NIL. They have a couple of other players they've spent some NIL money on. Richard Saunders is an outstanding scorer. And again, there's a long way to go in the game. We're doing it live. If you're seeing the show, obviously, later on Saturday night or on Sunday or hearing us in podcast form, whether BYU came back to win or did Flemings and Houston get another large win for Kelvin Sampson's team if they got the win in Provo. But I thought we would bring them up. One more Western team, Utah State, has asserted itself in the Mountain West, and we saw them whack earlier in the week New Mexico at the Pit in Albuquerque. And now with a couple of the losses, not only by New Mexico, but Grand Canyon lost today at UNLV, this league is looking more and more like Utah State would be the only at-large candidate. Somebody else might win the tournament for the automatic bid, but since we have the Western guy here, you would agree with that real quick?
Yeah, I think Jason asked me a week ago here on this show, is there any mid-tier team in the Mountain West that you like? And I said no, right?
and you were right to this point.
So, sometimes the best answer is no. Or none of the above. So that's the way it's trending. And, New Mexico's in a dogfight with Boise State right now. I mean, yeah, it's trending toward Utah State being the only at-large and the Mountain West getting a maximum of 2 bids. So that's really great news if you're an SEC Big Ten bubble team. And let's just make the segue because I'm the West Coast Bureau Chief. UCLA mucking around in a close one against Washington. If UCLA loses that one at home to Washington, Bruins definitely on the negative side of the bubble going into a 2-game road trip to Michigan and Michigan State, and then UCLA is going to have to play Illinois at home on the back end of that. Bruins are making life very difficult for themselves out here in the West.
Just looking again at the Mountain West, right now, Utah State is 23 in the net. San Diego State remains 44 in the net. But I don't know that there's good. I mean, San Diego State's 1-5 in quad 1. I don't think there's another at-large team. You could get somebody to get the automatic bid, but probably not. All right. We got to scoot here in a second. Anything else that we didn't cover of this Saturday? You could go backwards to Michigan winning a couple of nights ago with Penn State. We got Michigan, Ohio State tomorrow early before the Super Bowl. Maybe something else tonight that struck you? The St. John's win over UConn. But go ahead.
Florida emerging as the team in the SEC. A very authoritative statement tonight at Texas A&M. That was for first place in the conference. Todd Golden figuring things out. Like Florida is the class of the SEC once again. And that just is really impressive given how much pub Alabama, Arkansas, Vanderbilt had at various earlier points in the season, Florida clearly separating itself in the SEC.
You're aware of how the game began negatively for Texas A&M. You heard us talking about it earlier. Are you aware of this? They made one more shot than you, me, and Jason made out of the first 24 attempts at home. They were 1 for 24 from the floor, Matt, at home.
Texas we were A&M all waiting for Texas A&M to regress as soon as the SEC schedule got tougher, and here we are. Not a surprise.
Quick thought with the craziness that we have seen, including in the Big Ten. We do have Michigan tomorrow with Ohio State. Any thought on, is that possibly trouble in Columbus? It was a decent game in game number 1. That is tomorrow at 1 Eastern time in Columbus. Michigan, by the way, beat Penn State by more than 40 points. That's the first time since the Duke 2001 national title team that a team has 7 40 or more point wins in a season, and they still got about 15 games to go if they keep winning in the NCAA tournament. Is this a danger spot tomorrow? Quickly.
It's a danger spot because it's a road rivalry game, but Ohio State's been a true bubble team pretty much the whole season, and Michigan, because it beat Penn State so easily, was able to rest its starters. So it's a game I fully expect Michigan to win, but obviously rivalry games, like we've seen crazier things happen. The other thing while we're talking about the Big Ten, USC at Penn State early morning out here in the West. It's a noon tip in the East. Really crucial bubble game for Eric Musselman. USC's been hit hard by injuries, but Penn State, you need to beat Penn State regardless of how many injuries you have. It's kind of the one game left that can really trip up USC. I mean that in the sense of it can really drag down the resume. USC's other remaining games are against good teams. So USC's going to lose some of them, but it's not going to be a massive hit to the resume if USC loses. This Penn State game is the last game that can really cause USC's resume to sink like a rock if the Trojans lose it. If they can get past this one test, they take a significant step toward the NCAA tournament.
And I know you're a Seattle Seahawk guy.
Yeah.
Super Bowl thought.
Sam Darnold
with New England.
First USC quarterback to ever start a Super Bowl. That is bonkers.
That is
wow. That's hard to believe with all of the USC quarterbacks that have been in and around the playoffs. Yeah.
The Super Bowl is 60 years old. First USC starter.
Sam Darnold is the answer to the question. Mark Sanchez got close in the AFC title game a couple of times.
Yep.
Pat Hayden in the 70s.
Exactly.
Yes. But instead it was Vince Ferragamo, right?
With the Cardinals 10 years ago.
That's true. All right. Great stuff from Matt Zemek. Thank you as always. Read him at Trojans Wire, USA Today website for the USC Trojans. Also the UCLA Bruins Wire, UCLA Wire, covering both of those teams. He's always with us on College Basketball Coast to Coast, talking Western basketball and all else. Thank you, Matt, once again. And we'll do this again soon here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. Thank you on a live Saturday night.
Thanks as always for having me.
There we go. He's with us tonight. Ari Russell in the green room here on the launching pad, ready to go in a moment from New York City. Stand by. Let's run through a couple of things again that have gone on tonight. Seth Trimble is the hero for North Carolina. Last second three to win the game, 71-68 against Duke. Jason, they were down 18-5 to begin the game. We're going to talk with Ari more about this. And the last second three saves North Carolina. That is now, I believe, 6 consecutive wins after they lost those 2 games out in San Francisco to Cal and Stanford. When a lot of people were questioning Hubert Davis, they ain't questioning it anymore. Go ahead.
Yep. Again, big must-have win for Hubert tonight. That again, with what's swirling and in their own building. That's a game you need to win because you're probably not going to win at Duke at the end of the year. But yeah, huge win for Carolina. We still have our Cinderella in the MAC undefeated in Miami of Ohio.
That's correct.
And I want to ask you,
Miami of Ohio played in the MAC game against the Sun Belt So
Yes.
Marshall is now in the Sun Belt. I got to keep all these conferences straight. And Miami of Ohio beat Marshall at Marshall, which will help them metrically. This was a special made for March. Best teams play the best
Yep.
teams in
Conference
both of those
wise,
conferences. So that'll help Miami of Ohio, who is now 24-0.
And
A remarkable start to their season.
And a team we've not mentioned, I don't think, on any of our Saturday nights, who's 23-1. How about the St. Louis Billikens?
St. Louis strong too, out of the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I mean,
they got another
that?
win on Thursday night, I believe. And Robbie Avila is the kid with the goggles, the big Hispanic kid with the tattoos and the goggles, and they're calling him Cream Abdul-Jabbar because he's light-skinned or lighter skinned than
St. Louis these days. Do we know?
Josh Schertz, right, who has been at a couple of different programs, and Schertz is now at St. Louis, and the Billikens are making noise right now in the Atlantic 10. Good point. Couple of more games from tonight. Michigan State with a thrilling overtime win over Illinois that we've been talking about. They hit a last-second three. Illinois hit the 2 free throws with 1 second left to force overtime. Michigan State still won the game at home. They had to have it, Jason. They had lost to Michigan. They had lost at Minnesota, who's bad in the Big Ten. And Izzo's team got it tonight, a gutsy win for them. We keep talking about Florida, who looks like the best team in the SEC. They clobbered Texas A&M tonight, if you're just joining us, beating them in College Station. So a lot that we are going over. Why don't we mix in another voice here on College Basketball Coast to Coast in our remaining few minutes? Hello, Ari Russell from New York City. He's been on standby, and he hangs out here tonight. Good evening, my friend. Another Saturday, another crazy Saturday of college basketball. Some thoughts from you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like the night before the Super Bowl, we've got tremendous buzzer beaters and overtime games. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better kind of wrap up to the real basketball coming in, because you've got a lot of the hardcore fans that have been watching, and the super hardcore fans have been watching since November, right? Like us. And then you get some people with conference play, it steps up, but it really starts building up right after the Monday after the big Monday, as they used to call it. They still do, I guess, on ESPN. But the big Monday after the Super Bowl is when it really kicks into gear, because now we're starting to paint the picture of what the tournament's going to be, but also the attention of the less hardcore fans start going in, because there's no more NFL. So the sports fan is going to go jump and pay more attention to college hoops. And what a great kind of college hoops eve, or the Super Bowl eve for college basketball tonight. Having these great rivalry games and having such intrigue, having that North Carolina Seth Trimble hitting that 3-point shot, to close out and send the Tar Heels off to a victory today and knocking off Duke. Obviously, Michigan State knocking off Illinois at home. Both of those games were tremendous. So, I mean, this is just great for college basketball. How about Alabama and Auburn, being close, going down to the wire as well.
And Alabama gets another win that could be controversial, which we'll talk about. Let's stick on this topic. Right. We've asked others, and I want to go through several of these real quick with you. Bigger tonight, the Carolina comeback down 8 late, or do you call it more of a Duke collapse? What would you say?
I'm going to be a diplomat here, and I say it's kind of both. Yes, to both of those. Duke gave up a significant lead in the last part of the second half there in the game. But give credit to Carolina on making that comeback, not giving up, not folding. Look, they took that game and they took it to win. Duke, did they collapse? Yeah, I know. I heard Matt Zemek talk about it, that they have some of a problem closing out some of these games. I mean, they haven't lost too many games this year. What is this, number 2 on the year, I think?
2, right? Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say that they really have a problem, even though, the 2 losses they do have. Obviously, that Texas Tech loss was a tremendous surprise, considering it felt like Texas Tech had their entire starting lineup fell out in that game before.
And that was a double-digit collapse in the last 7 minutes.
Right. It's
of that game. I know Matt Zemek was talking about this, and you You go backwards to the 7-point lead in the final minute and a half that they blew to Houston in the Final Four. We were there.
Right.
Is this becoming a little bit of a concern that John Shire's teams in the biggest of games maybe are having trouble hanging on to leads if it's close?
It's tough. I mean, I've seen several games where they don't do that and they actually extend the lead. I mean, this was it last weekend against Virginia Tech with Duke. Virginia Tech was really
yes.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of closing that gap. It looked like Duke had a big lead, and then Virginia Tech collapsed it to around 6 or 7 points, and they just dog walked them in the last 4 or 5 minutes of that
they
game,
did.
and ended up being
good
like
point.
an 18-point win. So it's hard to say that this team has collapsed because I've seen on several occasions that they've closed out big leads and extended them. Against, I believe they did a similar thing in Florida when they played against Florida. That game was
that one right.
game.
That one was at home. They won
had
at
big lead in that game.
They won at Michigan State in a close game and beat them in East Lansing. They beat Arkansas in a fairly close game at the United Center. So we just got to keep the big picture perspective. They have closed out some games. They just didn't do it tonight.
No, they didn't do it tonight. They've closed out big games, and then their games. That Florida game was back and forth, but they did have a significant lead in Florida, like a big time lead, and Florida collapsed that lead, and they held on to win that game. So in Florida, as we're seeing, as you guys were talking about, Florida is really starting to put themselves out there for the SEC, put themselves above, and kind of separating themselves in that conference right now. They're starting to really get it together, mainly because of their guard play. Has really started to play much better and consistent. I can't really look at it being a collapse or Duke has this propensity to collapse. I mean, look, they have a tough schedule and got to give North Carolina credit. And again, Hubert Davis was on the hot seat a few weeks ago. He's off that hot seat for a while until next year. He'll be back on the hot seat again, and then he'll win a few more games. What took him off the hot seat was that Virginia win. That was a huge one. We talked about it when it happened. But now, for certain, there is no hot seat for North Carolina and for Hubert Davis. This team is legit, So that was a huge win, and they have the guard play. Having Seth Trimble, remember Seth Trimble was out for several weeks. I think he had a fractured hand, and he's one of their key. He's really the straw that mixes the drink. He's their point guard. He's the guy that's going to have the ball in the end of the game to close it out. And he closed out a great one today in Chapel Hill.
And TJ, how about the point you made earlier as we started here on that Duke Carolina game? John Shire is reporting after the game, his coaches got punched in the court storm by Carolina fans. So,
yep,
to your point,
there was. I said this at the top of the show.
Punched in the face.
I talked to a couple of people off the air about this, that North Carolina and the ACC may have to reprimand them. North Carolina obviously had no concern whatsoever with get the Duke players off the floor safely with security, with administrative people, with whatever on the first court storm. And then for it to happen a second time, where you could see on the video, there were North Carolina fans throwing things at the Duke players. It was just idiocy on their part, and we'll see if the ACC doesn't come down on them a little bit. You at least have to be prepared for this to an extent and have some security people, some cops out on the floor. It looked like there was no one. So thank you, Jason, for the heads up on that. All right, we're going to keep you just for a couple of more moments.
I want to go back to that one just as a joke. Like they're going to have to go to the videotape, like in that documentary at Altamont, Gimme Shelter. Is that the Rolling Stones documentary about the Altamont where they hired? As long as North Carolina doesn't hire the Hells Angels for security, I think that's
okay.
Right.
Okay, talk to me about hang on, Jason. Talk to me about the St. John's win, statement win over UConn.
Oh, yeah.
You covered the Big East. You're around in New York City. How vibrant has it been for the last couple of days in anticipation of that game, and then they won it last night?
Well, I mean, you look at the fan. One of my friends is a huge UConn fan, and he was at the game, and he was just like, this place is just flooded with red. I mean, so that's not a shock. I mean, we know that, and the way that St. John's is playing right now, I mean, that was a premier ticket, and Madison Square Garden on Friday night, definitely. Look, this obviously, I know that Adam Zagori was talking about it's probably a 3-bid lead, but it's a league with Villanova being probably the other team most likely getting in. But it's really a 2-team race at the top here. Who's going to win it? And St. John's gets the first win there, and at least ties UConn in the. I think UConn is still in first just because they have. I think they're a half game up because they have
one more win, I believe.
They're
Yes,
12-1, and I think that St. John's 11-1.
Patino's team was kind of floundering, kind of sorta, and they've won 8 in a row. You watch this closely. What are they doing better? Obviously, what would you say?
I was saying this a few weeks ago when I mentioned that it just seems like, like this team is heavy transfer. They got a lot of guys coming in with a lot of talent, but it's also trying to get them to play as a team. It's very difficult to do that. Yeah, you can get guys that are athletic and have talent, but you have to get them to play as a team. They were searching for their identity. Look, the identity really at this team, to me, is the heart and soul of the team is Zuby Ejiofor. And I think we all believed that going into the year, but it was just trying to figure out how to really place him with the new talent that they brought in. They figured it out great last year, much earlier than they did this year. But now we're starting to see that the team's identity is around Ejiofor and the complements around him. All these guys that they brought in, Hopkins, etc., are starting to really become a better team around Ejiofor, being kind of that anchor, that axis of their spin. So but that's what Pitino does, though. That's why he's had 6 teams make it to the NCAA tournament. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time in college basketball because of his ability to be able to get his teams prepared and ready to go. Took a little bit longer this time. They didn't have a great record in their out-of-conference schedule, but once the Big East hit, it seems like their identity is being found, and we're seeing it. They're very tough. Look, UConn is a very physical team up front, and Ejiofor dominated that game, just completely dominated that game up front. You're not going to push around a Rick Pitino team, and they really did a good job of defending and closing out a tough opponent. UConn had how many wins in a row? I think it was something like 18 in a row.
18,
in a row.
Correct.
So that's a big deal. They were playing hot and they were closing out games, even the close ones. UConn was able to close out games. Not on Friday night. St. John's didn't let them because their identity is there, and it's a 2-team race in that one. It'll be interesting when they go back. I think it's in a few weeks here when they go back and they play at UConn. So we'll see. I'm sure UConn will be ready for that one. But and again, they're probably playing 3 times this year.
Patino, as we all 3 know, is one of the best tacticians and game plan guys in the history of college basketball. What they did a great job last night was pressuring the point guard up as soon as they crossed half court. They didn't allow, forced a lot of turnovers in the passing lanes, deflection, steals, but put a lot of pressure on that point guard Demery last night.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. What UConn in there, they run a very dynamic motion type offense, and the really only way to attack them is to be able to have functional defense, as you said, putting the pressure on the guards to keep that motion offense from being able to have the lanes and spaces of what you said. But that takes skill, and that takes practice, and that takes preparation.
Effort too.
And effort. You got to have.
They've
effort.
come around. They've clearly come around.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
That's what they did. Yeah.
All right, real quick, because we've been asking everybody else this. I want your take. Then we're going to get you out of here. Arizona wins again today. They destroyed Oklahoma State. They've already won at UConn. They've already beaten Alabama in Birmingham. They have a monster game with Kansas Monday night. But I mean, they've won game after game, testing themselves so far this year. They also beat Florida all the way back at the beginning of the season.
UConn
by the way,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, UConn at UConn. Which is saying something. Are they a cut above right now in your mind?
I
what would
mean,
you say?
At this point, there's no question that they're a cut above. Look, I was watching that Arizona State game, rivalry game. Arizona played that game pretty tough for about 30 minutes, and they just completely blew the doors off them. They just have too much firepower. I mean, they run about 9 or 10 deep. Guys come off the bench, and it doesn't seem like they lose a step. I mean, they don't have any weaknesses. They just don't. They've got
the only variable, I wouldn't call it a weakness, but they're not a great 3-point shooting team. A lot of times they're average or below average shooting the three.
Average.
Maybe that will cost them. Maybe it won't.
It could, but we like Jason, what you were saying earlier. They've got 4 games coming up. That this is the gauntlet. This is where they're going to have their gauntlet. Where the Big 12 really is a gauntlet, because and the way that Kansas has been playing of late. Oh my goodness. So at Houston, obviously, Iowa State. This conference, especially at that top seedings there, are rankings are just absolute gauntlet. So we're really going to see how legit Arizona is when they face this gauntlet at the end.
On that point, it is at Kansas, Texas Tech at home, BYU at home, at Houston for the next 4 games.
Yeah. So
good luck with that. The argument is, and I want your opinion also, that maybe it's Michigan. Michigan again has tremendous wins out of the conference, including destroying Gonzaga by 40. They have a couple of other big wins as well out of the conference. And they have won 7 games by 40 or more. I believe they have something like 13 or 14 wins by double figures. Now, they play Ohio State tomorrow. Is Michigan right there with Arizona, or you think still just a notch below Arizona?
I think a notch below, but it's a very small kind of microscopic notch, but slightly slightly below them. They've won tremendously, especially in some of their conference game. I mean, some of these spreads are insane, right? But they're a team that you don't want to. You really got to pressure them, and they've got so much size. They're another really well balanced team that can shoot the 3 better than Arizona can, for sure. And obviously Dusty May, he's got the pedigree, and we've seen him take teams to the Final. We'll see him take Florida Atlantic to the Final Four a few years ago. So, I mean, at this point, it's Arizona is 1, I think, and I think Michigan is 1A, just slightly below them at this point. But again, they have a gauntlet in front of them as well, because the Big Ten is not a joke itself. I don't think from the top line of the Big Ten, I think they've got pretty solid line. I don't think the top line of the Big Ten is as difficult as the top line is in the Big 12 at this point, but it's close. But I just think, I mean, you've got 5-6 teams in the Big 12 that are just absolute possible Final Four teams.
Big Ten fans will fight you and say we even got Nebraska beating people. They've got Illinois, they got Michigan State, they got Purdue that's got veteran players.
Yeah, that's true.
Stay tuned.
And Wisconsin's the only team that's taken down Michigan.
Michigan, that's correct. Ari Russell, thank you. Follow him on social media at Ari Russell. I always love your insight on a Saturday night. I know you have no love for the Empire with the New England Patriots back in the Super Bowl.
I don't
Your
really
Giants did take them down a couple of times.
Yeah.
Is it cool. New England in a redemption story that closes with a win in Santa Clara, or is it Seattle knocking them off on the doorstep?
Man, honestly, I actually think New England's going to win. I don't really care for my only reason is because of Mike Vrabel. I just think he's just a remarkable coach, and I think that he's going to have cause a lot of problems, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that's where they've really stepped up, and everyone's talking Drake made this, Drake made that, right? Yep. He's had a phenomenal year, but I think it's what their defense, what they've been able to do, especially in the last 7-8 games of the season, has been pretty impressive to me. And Seattle's had a great defense, but we saw that they can give up a lot of yards and points as well. So I think the difference is going to be Mike Vrabel and how he disguises his defense, making it difficult for Seattle and their offense. That's my call. But what do I know? Don't say you want to lose money? Give me a call.
There's the one and only. Great stuff from New York City tonight, my friend. We'll take it. We'll take it down the stretch. Follow him at Ari Russell on social media. I love it. With you, with us on college basketball coast to coast. Let's do it again soon.
Yes, sir.
He was with us as well. Thank you, Ari. He was with us as well, Jason Powers, for that watch along earlier in the week that we did for the Nevada Boise State game. You guys both did great work with me on that, and we had a tremendous game to call.
Really good
Nevada
game.
tied the game at the very end. to go to overtime, and then a back and forth overtime. Eventually, Boise State won it 91-87. We do our best to cover all of it. 2 or 3 other subjects. By the way, they have gone to the second half for BYU and Houston. Houston maintains the lead. I know you're keeping an eye on this game. I'm keeping an eye on this game for tonight. And it's a large one, obviously, for BYU, having lost 3 of their last 4 games. They trail right now 44-40. They've gotten a couple of hoops. Long way to go, about 16 minutes to go. If you're listening to us later on the podcast form or after the fact on Sunday, you know what happened. We don't know that while we do this live. But if Houston gets this win or, the bigger thing is BYU takes a loss, that's 4 losses in 5 games. Welcome to how tough the Big 12 is to the Cougars.
I would say this too, with the Big 10 and the Big 12 so top heavy, these teams are going to be so excited to not play each other come March. So a team
right.
A team like BYU might be on a slide now, but in the tournament, they are going to be in a tremendously dangerous 4 or 5 seed when they're playing a ACC team or a Big East team or whoever SEC team. When these teams get out of conference and they can game plan against somebody else, I think you're going to see some of these teams make some runs here that are going to be out of this 4 or 5 seed hole.
Let's go back over a couple of more things. Kentucky, on a great night of college basketball, came back again. 5th double-digit comeback win already this season for them. They got the last-second 3 that helped them from Chandler. They hit the key free throws at the very end of this one as well to hold off Tennessee by 3. Tennessee had a midcourt 3 that could have tied the game and forced overtime. Great game. Kentucky gets the sweep over Tennessee. Now, and that is 8 wins in the last 9 games for Mark Pope's team in the SEC to improve to 8-3 in SEC play. We prop that. Also in the SEC, we're in the South, you and I. Alabama did beat Auburn at Auburn. What do you make of this, that the judge had the hearing yesterday, had every opportunity all Friday afternoon, all Friday night, all Saturday morning with Alabama's short travel to Auburn to say, yay, Charles Bediako can continue to play, or no, he cannot play, and the judge doing the justice delayed is justice denied for the NCAA. He doesn't make a ruling.
Well, he had to let him play at least in the Iron Bowl, didn't he? Before he ruled him ineligible. I mean, he's an Alabama supporter.
Right, but it's a different judge now.
I know,
they got rid of the previous judge, and this looks like total kangaroo court that he didn't make a ruling of any kind. So now this carries over, and it's a valid point that Alabama has now won a 3rd game, beat Texas A&M midweek. They have one other win with Bediako earlier in this. This is a 3rd win with him, and if the NCAA prevails, listen to us playing court TV, but we bring it up again. If they prevail in the Alabama court, I'm saying 99% they're invalidating those wins, and they're saying to Nate Oates, you did this to yourself. He's an ineligible player. We told you he's ineligible. The court ultimately agreed with us. These games do not count for you. They are all losses. They're all forfeits now.
You think Greg Sankey's going to allow that to happen?
Greg Sankey sided with the NCAA in the court filing on Thursday. Okay. But the bottom line is, if they get a court victory, they can come right back and say, we warned you and told you this is against our rules here. And the only thing you did was take the risk by playing him while the judge sorted out the temporary restraining order. So stay tuned. Lawyers on top of Alabama probably sues the NCAA then to try to get the wins back. And the lawyers make all the money, right, Jason?
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, before we go, I'll give you a shout out.
All right.
5th anniversary of your COVID Super Bowl title today.
You got to love it. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
To the air of Raymond James Stadium.
And all the
crazy. Didn't they have cardboard puppets? They had
cardboard cutouts. That's exactly right. I'm looking. I think I saved the picture. I'm looking as we speak that I do have this to pull out. That this was in fact me back 5 years ago at Raymond James Stadium. There is 2020 encapsulated with a mask and a microphone and the confetti, and that's Tom Brady on the video board in the background. 5 years ago tonight, the Bucks put it on the Kansas City Chiefs to win their second ever Super Bowl. So thank you for that on the anniversary. What a great night tonight. What happens with Michigan and Ohio State, in your opinion, on Super Bowl Sunday at 1 Eastern time tomorrow?
Close game, but Michigan gets it done.
Succinct. I like that. Anything else we left out, Jason Powers?
Are we doing a show next? You know what next Saturday is now? Valentine's Day. Are we doing a show?
I don't know. That's a good question. Mrs. Rives was looking at me tonight going, you're doing another show tonight? And now I got to break it to her that I might not be as romantic as she would hope on Valentine's Day. We'll see.
It's a Saturday night Valentine's Day, man.
Stay tuned to see if we come back your way on Saturday night. Thanks again to Adam Zagoria with NJ.com and the Zags blog. Follow him at Adam Zagoria, spelled Zagoria. Thank you to Matt Zimick, our Western insider. Matt Zimick on social media, Zemek, Matt Zimick. Ari Russell, like it sounds, Russell, in New York City. They were our guests. Follow him at JPO Sports. Another fantastic Saturday of college basketball.
Who wins the game?
Final thought, is it New England tomorrow with the Seahawks? Does New England get it done?
Seattle and lay the points.
I think Seattle wins this game by 2 touchdowns or more.
Lay the points.
I got haterade going on for New England. They played 3 games against teams with winning records in the regular season.
Yep.
You have had just a perfect alignment of everything that they would need to get them into the Super Bowl, including a backup quarterback playing for Denver who hadn't played all year long. To get them here, I think Seattle's a better team. They win. We see.
We will see. Head coach for not kicking the field goal when you're up 7-0. Sean Payton.
Jason Powers, great job. Follow him at JPO Sports. He's got some Super Bowl thoughts as well on the Powers on Sports podcast that's out there. You see that up on the screen. For the video audience, thank you. Find us on podcast, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. Find us on the TuneIn channel, College Basketball Coast to Coast. 5 weeks from Selection Sunday. It's already Sunday in the East while we do this. Jason, have a great night. Thank you.
Anytime.
We appreciate it. We thank everybody for watching tonight on College Basketball Coast to Coast in our Saturday Night Live